Good morning, everyone. I welcome you to today's BIO4CARE Workshop, which has been organized by Inorrenew Center of Excellence in Slovenia. My name is Oihana Gordobil. I'm the leader and the researcher of the BIO4CARE project. This is a Marie Curie postdoctoral project, which has as goal the development of a multifunctional ingredient based on lignin for sunscreens formulations in order to combat the excessive use of synthetic compounds in skincare products. So we have here also Mike Gunnar, the Deputy Director of Inorrenew Center of Excellence. So would you like to say a few words, Mike, about Inorrenew?
Sure, thank you. Yeah, so as Oihana said, this is partly organized by the Inorrenew COE as well as her Marie Curie postdoc project. Inorrenew is a research institute focused on sustainability and sustainable construction, in particular with renewable materials. And so we're quite interested in the utilization of all renewable materials, whether they're coming from raw sources or recovered sources, and trying to find ways to better use them and increase the value for the full.
We lost you, Mike.
Oh no.
The voice.
The voice, is it gone? Is it here?
It's okay now.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so as I was saying, Inorrenew is a research organization focused on finding value for renewable materials, and particularly looking at trying to provide value for the whole value chain of renewable materials. And we are quite excited to have this this meeting today and to hear all the different talks. And I hope it is very productive for everyone that's attending. And thank you all so much for coming. And thank you, Oihana, for managing the event.
Thank you so much, Mike. So today we will have 6 presentations, including some of the most innovative companies in Europe dealing with the conversion and the development of the bio-based ingredients for high value added applications. We will have also an expert in business and strategy development in the cosmetic field. So she will show us also the new market trends in the cosmetic field. I would like just to remind everyone that this event it will be recorded. So later on you can find it in the BIO4CARE website, so you can see it later or share with colleagues and friends. I recommend you to keep the camera off and the microphone muted during the event, please. If you have any questions or comments, just write them using the chat. So we will have 5 minutes after each speaker to answer the questions. And at the end of all the presentation, we will have around 20 minutes to discuss with the speakers about the most relevant challenge that they have to face in the creation of these new companies to market new bio-based ingredients. So now I would like to introduce the first speaker. Stefan Beisl is the head of the research and development of Lignovations company in Austria. So welcome, Stefan. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Oihana.
Good morning. So he will talk about the colloidal lignin systems for cosmetic applications. So if you can start sharing your screen.
Okay, perfect. I just want to excuse myself at the beginning. I got a nice surprise this morning. My daughter couldn't go to kindergarten, so she's next to me, and I hope she won't disturb us too much.
No
Okay, good, perfect. Then I will start. Yeah, I'm Stefan Beisl. I'm head of research and development of Lignovations, and we produce naturally functional ingredients. So shortly to our background, we are a spin-off from the Technical University of Vienna. We were founded last year, and basically the whole technology was developed in the biorefinery group of Professor Friedl. And basically out of that, we worked a lot with lignin and came to the technology of the colloidal systems of lignin, and we try to employ them now in the final applications. So basically, what is the problem that affects everyone? We have a lot of consumer products which contain ingredients which give them the desired properties. However, those functional, a lot of those functional ingredients are commonly made from harmful synthetic ingredients and chemicals, and those ingredients can concern some health concerns, environmental pollution, and obviously CO2 emissions. And that's where we see a window of opportunity, because there are a lot of consumers which have increasing skepticism about those ingredients. And also what we see, the natural segments are growing faster than the rest of the industry. So there is really a big window of opportunity from the consumer side, also from the regulatory side. We have, especially in terms of sunscreens, a lot of local bans. And we also see that, for example, in the Hawaii Reef Bill. And also the manufacturers really shift more to natural ingredients, because obviously they also see that window of opportunity. And I guess about the role of lignin, I don't really have to tell that much in here. Lignin has a lot of natural properties, which we really want to bring in the final applications. So lignin is really gives an ideal platform, basically, but obviously there are a lot of challenges. So what we are doing at Lignovations is we use lignin made from agricultural waste streams, wood residues, forestry residues. And this lignin, we convert it into a colloidal form. In this way, we can really bring the natural properties in the final applications. And that's one direction of applications, is obviously all the cosmetic applications, and that's what I'm also talking about today. But we also see a lot of other potential applications for that. So one big issue of lignin, as you might know, it's a very heterogeneous material. So what we see here is, on the left side, the lignin before we treat it in our process. So it's very, very heterogeneous. And in the right side, we see the material after the transformation, after our process. So we can see here a lot of increased surface area, which also gives us improved dispersibility. And what is most important, we can deliver consistent quality in the end product. That's a huge benefit, and that's a huge challenge, and that's what we achieved. Furthermore, we have always variability in our raw materials. So whether we get the lignin from the same source, from the same factory, there will be always variabilities in the quality. So it's very important that we can adapt to those changes. Our process allows us, with the integrated fractionation, that we always pick the most suitable part of the lignin and transform that into the colloidal particles. Also, in this way, we are able to basically use all lignins available on the market, except of lignosulfonates, and can transform them into colloidal particles and bring them in the final application. Good. The next really big challenge, and that's kind of still unsolved, we obviously have a brownish color in lignin in technical developments. So we have the approach of obviously improving the performance of the lignin, and therefore we can reduce the use level to get to a color which is acceptable for some end consumers. So we see here awareness in the natural segment, and consumers are accepting that color. However, if you go to the mass market, it's still a remaining challenge, because obviously we are not able to produce a purely white product. And what we think in here, the more players are on the market providing lignin in cosmetic products, the more awareness we will have in the consumer side, and the more acceptance there will be. So therefore, we are happy as soon as more products on the market, and I think that will be a breakthrough then. Okay, so basically that brings us to the product we developed, our first product. It's called Lignopure, and it works as an SPF booster. So we have seen in here SPF boosts of up to 100%. That means we can reduce conventional UV filters by up to 50%. Also, the antioxidant properties obviously are of importance in the application. And we have, on one hand, how does the lignin reduce the oxidative stress in the skin? So how does it work in the skin? And we have seen in here that it works better in keratinocytes, better than vitamin C. On the other hand, we have also improved stability of oils, so basically product protection of over 40%. And what is a further benefit of the colloidal systems? We really have such small particles that they will be really in the interface between oil and water in the emulsions, and really stabilize them. So it's Pickering emulsion, and we see the smaller the particles in here, the better it basically works. And that has obviously also an influence on rheology, and therefore on the sensory profile. So basically what we see in here, how is the principle of the SPF boost is basically also the lignin particles, they scatter, they reflect, and they absorb UV light, and when dispersed between the conventional UV filters, we see an increased path length within the sunscreen layer, and therefore an improved efficiency of the overall composition of the overall formulation. Okay. So basically what we can provide is a sustainable and safe product, which is made from renewable raw materials. So it's made from upcycled biomass. What we don't do is we don't do any chemical changes in the material. So it's basically a purely physical process, which also gives us a lot of benefits on the regulatory side. What we have done so far is we have done a full safety assessment of the material, so we can use it without any issues in cosmetic applications. And what we also have gotten so far is Cosmos certification, which is a certification for natural materials in cosmetics. Okay, so that's it from my side. And yeah, I'm happy to answer your questions.
Thank you so much, Stefan, for your presentation. Very interesting to hear about Lignovation and the project you have developed. I have one question about that. I would like to know how the cosmetic industry or the consumers perceive this brownish color of emulsions due to the lignin content.
So basically I guess you should mute yourself, Oihana. I hear myself. Okay, better. Okay, what we basically see, we work mostly with natural cosmetic manufacturers. They really see that less of an issue, and they really want to try that with their consumers, but obviously they have to figure that out at first. So the big number of consumers, they haven't received the material yet. So we are basically still waiting for the feedback, but we are, I think, we really think in the natural field, it's no problem. Whereas in the more mass market, we still see a lot of issues because still companies expect a purely white product. So that's still going to be a challenge, and hopefully starting in the natural segment, we can also make the mass market aware of that ingredients, harmful ingredients, and can go with the lignin in the mass market.
Okay, thank you. So we have a few questions more. The first one is the lignin nanoparticle process, the lignin nanoparticle preparation, cost effective?
Okay, sorry. Good. We start with the molecular weight question. Is that okay? Sorry, it was a bit.
If the lignin nanoparticles production process is cost effective.
So right now, that's basically always a matter of volume. Right now, of course, we only can go in the market which achieves high prices. However, the bigger the production gets, the more applications we have, the cheaper the production gets, and also depending on the size on the market, yes, we can produce economically.
Okay, we have another one. How the brown color of lignin is reduced in the final product?
How the brown color is in the final product?
Yes, how can be reduced?
How can be reduced? So our simple approach is we use right now a level of 1 to 3% in the final application. So our approach is, because we cannot simply remove the brown color, that's not possible. So what we do is to improve the performance as much as possible. So we need less material in there, and therefore also influence the color less. And what we see is in that level of 1 to 3%, it really gives us acceptable colors, and also really nice brownish colors, which in my opinion, consumers will accept them.
Okay, thank you. We have a few more questions. How much does it cost to go through toxicity studies and other required certifications?
That's like what we do so far as an SPF booster. That's a totally different story, as you would go in the direction of a UV filter. So in total, I don't have the exact sum in mind, but I think we are around something like 20,000 euros for tests. And in terms of time, if you exactly know what to do, then you can basically do everything in the time frame of, I would guess, around 3 to 4 months.
Okay, thank you. Monique says, thank you for the nice overview, Stefan. Can you pair the Lignopure with a bio-based UV filter, or do you still need inorganic or petro-based counterparts to achieve the desired sun protection factor?
So what we do so far, yes, we are an SPF booster, so we still need an additional conventional UV filter. What we are aiming for is mostly the combination with zinc oxide. So we can also have sunscreen which has less whitening effect because we can reduce the zinc oxide content and have also a nice color, that white of zinc oxide compared in combination with the lignin. That gives actually quite nice results. But yes, at the moment, we still need to work in combination with conventional UV filters, what has also majorly regulatory aspects behind it. Because going into registration as a UV filter, that is much more of effort. Takes several years and is much more costly.
Okay, thank you, Stefan. So, what kind of volumes material could you reasonably do per day?
I will not really disclose the exact capacity what we have. So we are just setting up our first commercial production, so we can provide first customers with sufficient materials. That's what I can tell you at the moment.
Okay, we have more questions. Given the charge of different feedstocks and processes, how do the final product properties relate to the structural feature of the lignin at the molecular level?
So what I mentioned, we can basically use more or less all the lignins available on the market. What I have to say, of course, we can, for example, not make out of a craft lignin the same colloidal lignin particle quality as out of organosolv lignin, for example. However, we can still provide similar properties in the final application, whereas I would go so far that out of the same fractionation process of the lignin, we can make products with the same quality, but still out of different fractionation processes that will be individual products, but showing pretty much similar properties in the final application.
Okay, another question is if you have any legal limitations with the use of lignin in cosmetics?
So far not, because can you detail that question maybe a bit?
Sorry?
Can you repeat the question?
Do you have any legal limitations with the use of lignin in cosmetics?
No, so far not. That's what we have done. We have to get sure that it is safe in use, and that's what we have done. So right now, no limitations, basically.
Okay, thank you. So other person asked if what type of lignin are you using? What is the concentration of lignin in the final product? And if you get the UV blocking effect even at low concentration of lignin?
Good. So I can not disclose right now what exact lignin we are using. For us, it's important to be as native as possible. So it's obviously not a craft lignin we are using. But it's basically as native as you can get it in larger scale. That's what I can tell. And yeah, of course, the UV blocking effect at low concentration is obviously getting lower. So when you see in comparison how much UV filter in mass percentage is usually used, then we are in ranges between 10 to 25% in sunscreens, depending on the sun protection factor. And obviously in these low concentrations, alone the lignin has almost no effective UV blocking, and would be used in much higher concentrations as a standalone UV filter.
Okay, I think you already answered the next question, that they say thank you for your excellent presentation, and if the lignovation-based materials it's based on craft lignin. So you say already it's not craft lignin, but you cannot disclose which kind is. So they ask also about how much lignin, how much is the lignin solubility while preparing the nanoparticles. I'm not sure if you can disclose also this one.
Well, the only thing what I can tell, it obviously also quite depends on the lignin source. So I cannot really make a general comment to that. And what we use so far in the process, our main product, I cannot really disclose that.
Okay, and the last question is, how do you manage the intellectual property and patents portfolio?
I think in this case, we were rather lucky that most of the IP management, the university, the technical university took over because most of them were filed during that time. So yes, it's a very important topic, especially in cosmetics. Therefore, I also don't really want to disclose what is ongoing at the moment.
Okay, so I think this was the last question.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Stefan, for your great contribution to the event and for your presentation and showing us about Lignovation and the product development. So thank you. Now we will continue with the next speaker, Ievgen Pylypchuk from Lignoflow company in Sweden. Okay, you already shared it. So the floor is yours. Ievgen, you can start with your presentation.
Okay. Hey, Oihana, thank you very much for inviting me and giving opportunity to present in this workshop. And it's a big pleasure. It seems like more than 70 people present. So my name is Ievgen, and I'm presenting the Lignoflow company. We are a spin-off from Stockholm University. And what we are doing, we're actually offering scalable solutions for lignin processing. So, for example, Nordics, you know, it's quite rich in forests. For example, Sweden is covered approximately 80% by forest. And you probably know from other presenters that the main underutilized material from the forest is lignin. And for example, Sweden produces 6 million tons of lignin, which is approximately 30% of European production. And the problem with lignin is, of course, its poor solubility. So it makes hard to process it. Then it in turn makes hard to make materials and chemicals out of lignin. And actually, that's why in most cases, 95% of lignin is burned. And it causes many consequences. For example, you can see it's actually causes like 14 million tons of CO2 emissions, which equal to $2.5 billion, for example, for Swedish society. So that's, of course, a lot. And what is our solution is lignin gels at high consistencies. So we can make lignin processable in this way. We make in waterborne gel, and it can contain approximately 30% weight of lignin. And you can see this gel is waterborne. It has pH 5.5. It helps to alleviate problem of dusting, for example, when you process lignin in large quantities. And it's really scalable. So you might ask how it works. And actually, the process is rather simple. So we take, for example, craft lignin or any other lignin from industrial source, mix it with lignosulfonate, and we precipitate it in pH controlled manner. So in the end, you can obtain either gels or dispersions. It depends on the lignin concentration. And if you're interested in more details, you of course are welcome to read our recent publication in green chemistry. So as I always saying, like regardless, this material looks very, very brown, it's still very green process. And here I can show the video of our gel, how it behaves. So you can see it's flowing out of piston syringe. And here we have approximately 38% of lignin, and it's waterborne formulation. Yeah, so this gel can be used for many applications. And if you ask me about the properties of this gel, what I can say is that it has gelling point at pH approximately 5. And here I'm showing just lignin solutions at different pH. So you see we start, for example, at pH approximately 10. It's free-flowing liquid. And then it starts to gelate at pH around 7. And actually the highest viscosity you can obtain at pH 5.5. So you see, for example, after 2 days, this gel stays like this. It's not flowing. And at some pH, it has even freestanding properties. We were even trying to use it as for 3D printing. So, for example, here I tried to print SU, or Stockholm University. But what is more interesting about this gel, that actually it can be dried like this, and then it can be redispersed again. You just add water, stir it, like, for example, for 1 hour, and it redisperses back to nanoparticles. So this gel consists of nanoparticles, and I can show you one TM image I was trying to record some time ago. So particles approximately are 100 nanometer or below. But what was interesting about these particles, you see, I was trying to zoom in while I was recording this TM image, and I have noticed that you see some bright spots on it. So I left my image for 3 minutes, and you can see that actually the sample almost completely burned out. So that means that particles contain either liquid inside or very soft. So then we asked our colleague to run cryo-electron microscopy. For those who are not familiar with this method, it's when you freeze your sample in liquid ethane, and then you transfer it to a microscope, and actually you visualize it at frozen conditions. And what one can observe that actually particles has deformed when we froze them. So if you approach, like zoom in, you can see the particles are deformed, and it seems they're deformed between crystals of the ice. So these nanoparticles are so soft, so they actually can be deformed while you freeze them. So that's why probably it renders this viscose properties for the gels at high consistency. Yeah, so maybe it's enough of science, but maybe now I can tell where we see the Lignoflow place. So since we offer this enabling solution for large-scale processing of lignin, we see ourselves in between 2 actors. First of all, it's forest industry, all lignin providers. Can be many companies who produce and sell lignins, and also manufacturing industry who make different materials out of lignin, like paint, coatings, maybe even cosmetics, for instance. And we see ourselves as a bridge between these 2 industries, because you know that pulp and paper companies produce thousands of tons of lignin, but they cannot sell it to manufacturing industry because they're lacking technologies for processing it. And we believe that Lignoflow can help companies with this. So here is actually our team. A company is led by Mika Siponen. He is also a professor in Stockholm University, and I'm co-founder here. So you're very welcome to reach us either by phone or just drop us an email. And yeah. Okay, so to summarize, we offer an enabling solution for large-scale lignin processing. We offer lignin gels at high lignin consistency, which are also waterborne. We don't use any organic solvent in our process. And actually, our technology is applicable for all major lignin grades. So with this, I would like to thank for your attention and ready for your questions.
Thank you so much, Ievgen, for your presentation and for sharing the properties of the gel that you have developed based on lignin. I would like to ask something about because you mentioned that this gel contains around 30% of lignin in weight. So you mentioned that can be dry, and you mentioned that can be redispersed, but this, for example, this redispersion can be done just by a simple stirrer, or you should use like high energy tools like ultrasound or rotor stator homogenizers.
Thank you, Anna. So this gel can be redispersed just, for example, stirring it for 1 hour at room temperature in water. But of course, if you sonicate it, it will be just faster. So you can redisperse it in 5 minutes. So there are many ways to do so.
Okay, thank you. So we have here a couple of questions. David said, nice presentation. Have you, no, sorry, we have one before, sorry. Nice presentation. Which solvents are you using?
So in this case, we use only water. Of course, it depends, like the properties of the gel, as I mentioned, depend on the pH, but we use only water, so no organic solvents. Okay,
thank you. So here we have another question. Thanks, Ievgen. Did you check for any properties of the gel, like antioxidant, anti-UV, antimicrobial, and so on?
Not yet. It's a good question, of course, and there are many things to check, but no, but in general, I think we can hypothesize that this gel will have good antioxidant properties because it contains a lot of lignin. Probably antimicrobial because lignosulfonate is well known for its antimicrobial properties. Yeah.
Okay. Richard say, nice presentation. Can you tell more about the other 70% you use to obtain this gel?
I'm not sure I understand the other 70%. It's like, I mean, so we have 30% of lignin, and then 70% is, okay, 15% is salts, which can be removed, and then also remaining is water.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
David asked
right.
if you have loaded active molecules in your gels.
No, not yet. As I say, early stage, but I think it's a very nice comment, and like there is a lot of room for this, for loading different drugs or any other molecules into this gel, because you have seen on this TM image that like you can actually load many things inside. So
we lost you, Ievgen?
I think it's a good opportunity for this for application for this gel. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know where you lost me, but I just wanted to say
I lost you at the beginning of your answer, so can you repeat, please?
Yeah, we still have a lot of time, so I can repeat. So I think we can load many different molecules inside of these nanoparticles, and probably they can be released under some stimuli responsive conditions. This is my answer.
Okay. Another question is: does the color remain when you applied your gels in coatings?
So I guess the color will remain because when you dry it, it just becomes maybe even a bit darker. So I guess the color will remain when it will be applied for coatings. But maybe it also depends on lignin source, because you know there are lignins which can be lighter in color. So maybe this will help to solve the situation.
Okay, thank you. We have here a comment. Lignin is insoluble in water. How it is possible, they ask.
It's just magic. No, of course. So basically, we have that conditions when one lignin render another one soluble in water. That's will be my answer for this question. But to Prakram, sorry, maybe you can just read this paper in green chemistry, and maybe like you can get more insight on this process and how it works. You're welcome to read it, or just contact me when something is not clear.
Thank you. So we have time. So we will continue with a few more questions. Ted asks, what is the amount of salt in the system?
Thanks, Ted. Nice question. We can say that the system tolerates approximately 15 to 8% of salt in the system, but I can also say that salt can be removed by standard means, and it's still the gel, which has very nice properties.
Thank you, Ievgen. Another question is, what could be an application for your gel?
Application, it's a very good question. So we're still looking for application. You're welcome to suggest any. But so far, we think, like, for example, taking into account presentations on your seminar, I mean, on this workshop now, maybe it can be used for cosmetics. I don't know. Maybe it can be used for 3D printing. Maybe for something else. We're still looking for applications for our gel.
Okay, thank you. David asked if you have carried out biological tests with your gels already.
Unfortunately, not yet.
Okay, so another question is about the 30% is non-water soluble lignin like craft soda or organosulf, as you mentioned. How much lignosulfonate they ask?
So lignosulfonate content can be varied from 70%, I mean 70% in this 30%, to approximately 30%. It depends, but it can be varied. But out of this 30% of total lignin content, lignosulfonate, for example, in this case is 70.
Okay. Another question is if you have any certification of your gels for any application.
As I say, it's too early for application and certification of our gel, but of course, as mentioned previously, probably, for example, to be used in cosmetics, it definitely needs some certification and more advanced tests. I don't know, maybe if it can be used for some 3D printing, maybe certification is not needed, but not ready to answer this question yet.
Thank you. And the last question is regarding the size of your particles in the cryo-TEM images.
Thanks, David. So in TM image, I can say that this scale bar is equal to 100 nanometers. So you can see that some of them are approximately 100, some of them below. If you talk about number weighted size distribution, we can say that particle size approximately 50 nanometers.
Okay, so no more questions. I have the last one for you, Ievgen. My question is also related to the size. With your process, can you control the size of your particles depending on the lignin you are using, concentrations, and so on?
Thank you, Oihana. It's a very good question. I again refer to publication, but in general, I can say that this system have shown very interesting properties because usually, you know, lignin particle size depends on initial concentration of lignin you use. So, for example, in some range, higher lignin concentration, the larger particle size. But in this case, actually, we can say that the particle size was independent on initial lignin concentration. So we tested system, I think, from 1% to like 25%, and particle size was in the range like 200, 150 nanometers or something. So it was very narrow, the deviation in size of particles. So I can say that at least for the lignins we have investigated, we can say that it's independent, which is actually surprising for us as well. But this is the case.
Okay, so I think we have no more questions. Thank you so much, Ievgen. It was so nice to hear about Lignoflow company and the product you are developing. So I hope to see you soon, and thank you so much. We will continue with the next speaker now.
Thank you, and thank you everyone for the
next
questions.
speaker is Daniela Arango from Lignopure company in Germany. Are you there, Daniela? Okay. Hello.
Hello. Yes.
Okay, so hello, you can share your screen.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Okay.
Okay, we see now your screen. Can you put in the presentation mode? Okay, thank you. So the floor is yours.
Well, thank you so much. It's very exciting to be part of this kind of workshops and like also to learn that the market is expanding and also the potential applications for lignin then and growing, and yeah, people willing to jump into this journey is also this number is also increasing. So we are Lignopure. And well, you already know a bit more about lignin, I guess, after these nice talks we have heard. So in this case, we wanted to focus this about, let's say, the journey we have undergone creating this company, Lignopure. So definitely our mission, as many as you have heard, is to supply natural, but also multifunctional and high performance ingredients that actually help close the needs of the market. And the idea is that we can replace current environmental and health harmful chemicals. What's the opportunity? And then why did we decide to jump into lignin when there are like potentially other opportunities? So this is from our background. Most of the people working with us have been involved with lignin processes and so on. And we identified that the gap was between the biorefineries that are producing nice lignin fractions and those high value markets that could potentially take up this lignin. So the lignin quality as it is coming from the biorefineries, even though it is a much nicer fraction than those obtained from traditionally pulp and paper industry, is still variable, and it's definitely not up to the level that high value applications such as cosmetics, food, and maybe later on pharma will desire them. So what we do is to actually transform lignin, and we aim to close this gap. In terms of sustainability and the impact, then lignin is, of course, a very interesting material. It's the second most abundant biopolymer, as you already know, but many things are supporting its impact and sustainability. So, for example, it will lead us to a responsible source of biosources. So we are not competing with eatable resources. Since we are focusing also in second generation biorefineries, this means that we're actually utilizing those part of the biomass that are not directed for food, the best use of already available sources. So we also don't want to create or promote the creation of more monocultures to grow plants and serve the chemical industry, right? But we rather want to take advantage of what is already there being exploded. And then the nice thing about the new biorefineries created across Europe and some very nice places overseas as well is that they are also very focused on environmental and social responsibility. Then regarding the real impact, so this was from the source. Now, what's the impact on the market where the lignin is actually getting to be utilized? So as we know, it's a natural polymer able to replace harmful ingredients such as, UV filters. So the idea is that we can reduce as much as possible the use of those problematic chemicals that are on the path to be banned. Then it's also a bio-based material that can match market specific needs. So there are many, let's say, biofillers available in the market. And biofillers, I mean in the sense of, green marketing. They just know that it's bio-based and therefore they believe it will be enough to create a sustainable business model out of that. But the truth is that we actually have to serve the market with functionalities that are economically viable. And that actually is helping us to create this, I think, brand new bioeconomy business model. So all of the companies that are here right now, we are barely young. And I think we all can agree that when we're meeting clients, they are very surprised that we actually have the guts to bring lignin to this market. But I think slowly, but at a good pace, we're showing that lignin does have a space in these value markets. Then what is our aim? We already know, and like many of you are experts in lignin, many of you maybe are not. Lignin has some very nice intrinsic properties in nature. The real challenge is, can we offer those properties in an end product that is actually serving the consumer? And the answer is yes. And there are different ways how to produce the right particles or the right dosage form of the lignin such that it can provide functional properties. We are focusing right now with our first product, which you will learn in a little bit, which is lignin-based. We are focusing in SPF boosting capacity, antioxidant boosting capacity to protect the formulation, but also to protect the skin against oxidation cycles or attacks. And also we actually want to focus on the natural color that the lignin can provide, because pigments are also one of the biggest challenges when it comes to innovation in cosmetics markets. Therefore, we need to explain a little bit more. What are we doing? What is our value chain? Because we already tried to clarify to you, we really don't produce lignin, but we rather transform the lignin. We are closing that gap between the lignin supplier and the lignin user at the end. So we remain a B2B company, and these are, let's say, our 4 key stages. So there is a bioresource, and there is important there to select the right type of biomasses where the lignin will come from. And there's also a lignin supplier, but this is a nice title, I will say. We rather have biorefineries, right, that produce lignin, and there is a big gap for them to become efficient suppliers of something they've never supplied, they've never focused their targets on. Then we have the lignin transformation, where we manage to standardize, let's say, the lignin quality in terms of particle properties, such that the client can already take this ingredient ready to use in different kinds of formulations, such as emulsions, dry powders, compact powders, and many other ones that we are exploring. So I'm gonna walk you through, let's say, how this is looking like for us. So basically, this is our daily job, and I believe many of you who are aiming to transform lignin, if you are in that path, or if you are from the cosmetic side, then I think it's also interesting for you to learn what is the value chain and what do we have to do to enable lignin to enter this market. So in terms of the biosource, lignin can come from different types of plants, and this is of course impacting the activity. So the functional groups on the molecule that will actually later on act on the functionality. So we have a deep understanding, and we build what we call a platform between the lignin structure and the final functionality that it can have. We've established a structure-function relationship according to the product's targets and functionality. So this is very useful for us because, of course, cosmetics is kind of broad, and we also need to know what are the share of markets that we can, reasonably target. So what we have from a structural lignin can actually cover those functions or functionalities that the potential client is asking us for. And then, of course, selection of feasible sources according to market and regulatory restrictions. So bio-based or natural doesn't always mean good. We always have to check in terms of the toxicological profile, the safety profile, where the biomass is being sourced from, and if we can actually have reliable supply. So that leads us to the second part, which is the lignin supplier. So as I mentioned, there are many biorefineries producing lignin as a side stream. A couple, very surprisingly, there are a couple of biorefineries, that are producing lignin first, but those are in very early stages. So right now we're talking about biorefineries that produce cellulose or maybe human cellulose as their main target, and then lignin is not so important, therefore it's very difficult. And I mean, it has been a nice path to go to try to standardize what are the requirements for them to become sound suppliers of lignin. So we have to develop and establish suppliers approval process. We have to establish supply agreements in order to secure the product development. So most of the biorefineries are at pilot scale that are maybe small sizes for the traditional chemical industry, but are good enough sizes to serve the cosmetic industry, as we have come to discover. However, we are permanently scouting for new lignin suppliers, and this is an active part of our R&D pipeline. So there is a branch of our R&D team that is always evaluating new lignin fractions, because luckily we've been contacted by many new not only lignin suppliers, but institutions that are developing new extraction processes, recovery or precipitation processes that obtain very interesting lignin fractions, and then we can be there checking what is able to supply further needs later on in the future. Then we have the lignin transformation. Here we have, well, a process and an application patent for the transformation of lignin, so we can obtain these particles that you observe here, microparticles, but we have also unique know-how around the pretreatment and the sorting of the particles, let's say, that has made our life and our consumers' life much easier. We have here raw material pretreatment to achieve the constant quality, but we are able to flexibly handle various raw materials. But as I mentioned, we are focusing on biorefinery lignins from multiple suppliers. We are doing drying and particle formation in a single step. Then these allow us to have a very lean production process, and this was very important for us for economic feasible values. And then we optimize the process conditions. We are able to do that. I mean, our technology platform is really flexible in that direction to optimize particle size, shape, and surface. And in this way, we were able to quickly, let's say, respond to the client's feedback that we have encountered throughout this year. And then, of course, finally, we have arranged packing according also to the specific market standards. I think this is also something we don't think about maybe, but it's very important that we learn how things are working normally in this kind of market. And then finally, the fourth stage, I mentioned to you, we are B2B tires like players. However, we need to get as close as possible to the B2C market. So what are we doing with the potential clients? Yes, we want to prove the product functionality claims and validate the applications. So we do develop some B2C products, so emulsions, sunscreens, and so on, that allow us to check the effectiveness of this ingredient. We, of course, are checking for ingredient compliance with market and regulatory requirements. We are focusing in these three different, let's say, sectors: distributors, manufacturers, and formulators. And we are running a constant feedback loop that allow us, until so far, we are able to have finally the standards for our ligno-based product. Okay, so what's ligno-based? So it's currently running under the INCI lignin/cellulose. We were granted, let's say, the status last year. And yes, we also have, let's say, the trademarks around this kind of ligno-based family or umbrella names. Then in general, the composition is 100% microparticles of lignins. We have a specific cutoffs depending on the final application. The lignin powder is ready to incorporate in complex formulations. We have worked very hard on that. I mean, you know that dusting can be an issue, the specific particle size so that we achieve stability and nice dispersions and so on. And then, of course, the goal is to reduce. Currently, we have 3 proven functionalities with in vitro and in vivo tests. In the case of SPF boosting capacity, for mineral and chemical sunscreens. And in terms of antioxidant, we have proven for now the antioxidant activity in formulation. And right now there are some tests undergoing for skin, intracellular and on-cell membrane activity. And we have developed a scale of natural color impact. So we have shown how the color of the lignin, as you can observe maybe in these little hands, we can create a wide range of palettes covering many of the skin tones required for makeup, but also in the case of tinted skincare products. Yes, here you have an example, I mean, just for you to know of how the product is actually looking like when it's being shipped for clients. And the size is also slightly changing depending on the size of the client. And we have some new functionalities that are under substantiation processes. So we believe these ones will actually be launched under another product brand rather than lignin-based. So what's the market? And I think we will learn much more. But in our case, of course, we're starting from cosmetics and personal care ingredients in general, but when we focus in natural and organic ingredients. So that's kind of the share we will be able to grasp from the market. So those final clients willing to try and actually eager to have natural and organic ingredients. And for those, only those basically, focus on the skin and sun care and the creative market share. In terms of the clients, as I already mentioned, we have cosmetic manufacturers, distributors, and formulator development. So I will say these are the three main, partners that we all have to aim to reach in terms of market growth. And as mentioned before, but some of the colleagues, it's really important that they start hearing and learning more about lignin. So when we started in 2018, they were not really big fans of lignin, how it looks like, and maybe reputation, because for them it was only craft and maybe lignosulfonates. But once they started receiving our samples, not only the powder, but also in formulations, then I think slowly but surely their mindset has started to change. And this is just, we wanted to show you how, let's say, the strategy in terms of traction could look like. And then these are the type of clients, distributor manufacturers, this is kind of the proportion. And we follow this, let's say, strategy in terms of initial contact, explore what are the needs they have. We have the beta test. This is how we call when we send them samples for them to try, give us feedback on the specific particle size. This is very nice because they also have given us new insights on functionalities we didn't plan for, and this is very nice. And of course, it's a huge world because it depends on the formulations they're trying things on. And currently we have 2 co-developments undergoing. So new ingredients are popping up like all the time. Now just closing up a little bit in terms of the team, like who actually made this possible. So as the core team, we started as 3. Luckily now we have a very big team that helped us support this growth. Then we have Binke. But yeah, so I was in the way to introduce the team. So our CEO, Joanna Hill, who's got expertise in product development for pharmaceutical, but also nutraceutical companies. And then of course she was leading the part of technology and product expertise. Then a bit later on in 2019, I also joined the team. And yeah, let's say my background is combined in bioprocesses, but also a bit of business management. And then we started with the experience in business strategy for biotech. And now I'm taking the lead in part of the product innovation and development. This is broadly the team. So we basically have support in the technology development, product innovation, and of course, sales strategy and business development. So yeah, this is a glimpse of the whole team. These guys are very keen to work with Lignin, as you can see. Then just a little bit of story just to close up where we are right now and what we have achieved. So we got together in 2018 to see if this was possible to become like a company. And then, yes, the answer was yes, let's go for it. We started applying for different kind of funds, participating in different kind of contests. And then finally in 2019, the company was founded. We received our first equity-free funds in 2019 to do proof of concept with different kind of materials and ingredients we had in mind. Then we finally set out for cosmetic applications. And in 2020, we got our seed investment. Then we finally got our own production site, as you can see here in 2021. We did the, let's say, initial commissionings and trials. And finally in 2022, so early this year, we started our first campaigns of productions with different types of raw materials. And yes, so this is the first, let's say, GMP compliant lignin transformation facility in Europe, as far as we know. And then in 2023, we're going for a Series A because we are aiming to keep on growing, and we're going to be ready for the market entry of lignin-based, the ingredient I just described for you. Then thank you very much for your attention. Sorry for the disruption we suffered, and we invite you to be part of the transformation, either if you are potential consumers of lignin or if you are also producer of lignin alternatives. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Daniela, for your presentation. It was very interesting to hear about Lignopure and also about your history, what are your plans, and so on. So thank you. We have here, we are on time, but okay, we need to ask some questions. Monica asks, thanks for your great presentation, Daniela. She asked, what are the current volumes of your lignin products? And if you can share which type of lignin are you using?
Yeah, so right now the total capacity, can you hear me? I see myself frozen. Okay, thank you. The total capacity of our production plant is 90 tons per year, but we are ramping up. So as you know, cosmetics also have like an intrinsic R&D development time, and we're like basing ourselves onto that. So we're slowly ramping up to that. But let's say the capacity that we have right now, it's 30. So we're in a third of the capacity at the moment. We are doing different, let's say, rounds to produce and have a stock of the product. We can supply from kilograms to 100 kilograms at the moment, but we hadn't officially, let's say, entered the market, but we are ready to do that later on through our distributors and some of direct customers.
Okay, thank you so much. We have another question. What are the most important lignin properties you look before accepting new suppliers for your process?
Well, let's say we have three main categories. First is the content and, let's say, reliability of batch to batch quality. So we have a threshold of lignin content that we require. And let's say that will be one of the main things. But also in terms of composition, we are discarding already lignins that have some main contaminations of like heavy metals and so on. So we are always checking for that first, like heavy metals, potential allergens, and so some others that we have already identified and that are like transparent in terms of the cosmetic regulation. And then finally, how reliable could be the supply. So we are working with many biorefineries in pilot scale, as I mentioned, but they have already sort of like figured out, let's say, a little bit what's the process. Therefore, we know what's the range of variation that we can tolerate. But that doesn't mean we don't accept, let's say, potential new suppliers. We evaluate it, and maybe they will pop up later on in our development, but we will have them there.
Okay, thank you. We will answer one question more.
Yes.
Because we need to run to the next.
Sure.
So we will try to answer the pending questions at the end of the workshop. So the last question for you is, what is the average price for your product in the cosmetic market?
Okay, so depending on the specific application, we're looking into price ranges between 60 to 100 euros. And that's kind of, yeah, what we have to establish in terms of which product you're actually asking us for. But we're in the range of multifunctionals, yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much, Daniela, for showing us about Lignopure. And thank you so much for your interesting presentation.
Thank you very much.
Now we will run to the next speaker, and see you soon. So we have as speaker Anne-Sophie. She is the development director of Montinutra.
Hello, everybody, and thanks for being invited here as a speaker. It's really nice that we have an opportunity to tell about our process and our products. And really our time slot here is quite nice also, because we just heard about Lignopure and how they work with biorefineries and they use the lignin produced there. And we are actually one of the biorefineries that produce some lignin. So hopefully we can maybe find some synergies with the lignin companies. So we've now heard 3 presentations on lignin, so we can take a step back and look where we might get some of the lignin raw material from. And as you heard, my name is Ann-Sofi Fonsen. I'm the development director at. So I thought I'd say a few words about our company first and what we do, the process we use, and then show what kind of products we have and why they could be interesting when looking at this kind of UV active ingredients, bio-based ingredients. So the topic is from side stream to mainstream. So probably everybody guesses already from that we are a biorefinery company, as I already mentioned also here. So Montinutra, it's a fairly new company founded in 2018. It's a startup in Finland, and we work with forest industry side streams, from which we extract valuable ingredients, and they are raw materials then further for technochemical or cosmetic or food industry, for instance. So we are the raw material providers for these lignin companies, as we heard earlier. We have right now a pilot plant running. It's been up and running for approximately 1.5 years now. And we are currently planning a commercial demo plant. So maybe, hopefully in a few years, that would be already producing material in a large scale. Just as a short comment, Metsä Spring, which is like the corporate venturing for Metsä Group, that is a Finnish forest industry group, is one of our investors, and this connection to Metsä Group is important for us when thinking about the raw material supply and yes, well, the further processing. And here you can see our mission in a picture. And as I mentioned, Metsä Group is important with the raw material supply, and right now we are focusing on side stream from sawmills. That means that we are working with sawdust mostly. Our process, it works for any biomass. It's more the particle size that matters there, but sawdust is what we focus on now as a first step. Here you see then the sawmill, of course, produces construction material, and we take the saw side stream. We do our extraction process on it, and in the end we get out nice biomaterials. It's important for us to always mention that trees are not cut down because so we can manufacture our products. We are working with circular economy. Wood construction is a sustainable way of constructing, so we will be utilizing wood also in the future in some form. And when we construct and build with wood, there will always be sawdust, so we have a secured supply of raw material in that way. And as I said also, that we cooperate with the Metsä Group also secures this supply of raw material. Since we work with this Finnish saw, our main raw material right now is spruce, or more exactly Pylypchuk, the Norwegian spruce. I don't know how much you know about wood chemistry, but just as a picture here is the chemical composition of wood. The main component obviously is cellulose. Depending on wood species, it could be even up to 50%, close to 50%, but in spruce we work with some 40% about. And then the two next biggest groups are hemicelluloses and lignin. maybe a little bit more of the lignin part, but approximately a quarter of each. Then we'll have some extractives and some other stuff like the ash left in the wood. And now these are the components that we want to separate. Well, you know, I have a background in chemistry, so I need always to have at least one molecular structure in my presentation. So here is an example of what the hemicellulose looks like. It's not always clear for everyone that we are talking about polysaccharides when we're talking about hemicelluloses also. So this is the most abundant hemicellulose that we have in spruce. It's a so-called galactoglucose. And in spruce, from the sugar side, we'll also have some xylem, but this is like the main part. So in our process, we want to separate this. We have a chemical-free, zero-waste biorefinery. Now, why chemical-free? Because it simply is chemical-free. The only chemical we use is water. So the input is this side stream, which now, as I've said many times already, is the sawdust. The utilities we need when doing this is heat, steam, and water. We have a water-based extraction. We do not add any chemicals. We don't do any chemical modifications like actively. The only thing that is what happens during the extraction process when we apply heat into the reactor. Some hydrolysis goes on, and that's how we can extract stuff. But we try to keep stuff as native as we can. We do not add any chemicals. We do not do any chemical modifications. We try to get the components separated in polymeric form, as big and as clean as we can. So chemical-free process. So our products are wood sugars or hemicelluloses that we call spruce sugars. We have these wood phenols, or that is lignin, or as we call it, the spruce ligno. And then the residue that is left, the cellulosic part, the fibers, thermal wood or spruce fiber. It's a thermally treated wood fiber, which is a little bit different than the untreated wood what comes to its properties. Then some of the residues can, of course, be re-fed back into the process as to be used as bioenergy. And that's actually what the sawdust is done today, used as bioenergy. So we can't really remove everything because, you know, energy is also needed. But we think that it's important to first remove valuable components before just burning it as energy. And in the end, more or less the only waste that we have is wastewater of the process. Yeah, so this is what we get. Here you can see, I wonder if I can move my own picture. So these are our products. As I just said to you, there are pictures. You can see how they look when they come from our process. The spruce sugars, they are these hemicelluloses. We have sugar contents up to 85%. It depends a little bit on the purification steps that we do. So the only chemical modification we do during or not chemical modification, but kind of modification we do during the production process are these purification or filtration that we do after extraction in order to get our different materials. And we have a few different sugar grades, hemicellulose grades, depending on what kind of steps we do in the end. Then we also get this spruce ligno. We don't want to see it as a side stream. It's one of our products also. And we are happy to find some ligno company that would like to cooperate around this product also. And then yeah, we also had this residue fiber that for instance can be milled into smaller particles. It could function as a filler or a softener in cosmetics. It's a little bit more hydrophobic than untreated wood because we have removed some of the very hydrophilic components from the surface. So it doesn't absorb as much water and could in that way be very interested as, for instance, a filler. The lignin that we have, it's in a way water soluble because it's been extracted by only using water. It's fairly small compared to, well, typical lignins, whatever typical lignin now is. We know lignin is a very dispersed group and big difference between different lignins, but it's fairly small. It doesn't contain sulfur or other this kind of contaminants. So yeah, Lignopure, maybe this could be an interesting raw materials for you. For sure, it has also this antioxidant properties as lignin has. But what I would like to just take a little bit closer look is at this our hemicellulose fraction. This is because we've heard a lot about the lignin, and I shouldn't talk that much about that because I'm more of a hemicellulose chemist myself. So we could take a look at this part. So the spruce sugar, we have, let's see what the time is, a few minutes. We have some different grades depending on the lignin amount, how much we have purified them. But the interesting thing is that none of these are completely like lignin-less because we don't want to treat them that harshly. We want to keep them quite native. So we still have lignin left in our sugars, which means that we still have some of the lignin properties in them. For instance, this UV boosting effect, we know that alone, they do not really give some kind of a SPF, but together with sunscreens, as we heard earlier today here, lignin has this boosting effect. We could apply these also in this kind of applications. And why looking at these instead of just looking at the lignin? Well, we have water soluble. They are quite easy to handle in that way. We can dissolve them in water. They form emulsions and film forming properties, and they are more light in colors, as you can see here down here. We have like this, the purest one, what we call spruce sugar LLD. Here we have the spruce sugar LL, and here we have some spruce sugar LN, which has the highest lignin content. But already with this LN, where we have like 10 to 15% of lignin, it could be giving a nice maybe UV blocking effect. Just an example, what it looks like if you do a formula. This is done in our laboratory. We can use this spruce sugar LL as the emulsifier there together with oil, and in this way maybe make some of a sunscreen kind of a product or something else for the cosmetic industry. Yeah, well, that was pretty much what I thought I'd say today. This is our team. We are a quite small team, but an efficient one. Oh, it jumped ahead without me touching anything, but anyway.
Okay, thank you so much, Anne-Sophie, for your presentation. Yeah. It's very nice to hear also about another alternatives from lignocellulosic materials to replace these fossil-based ingredients, in this case from hemicellulose. So thank you so much. I have one small question for you. It's related to the toxicity of this compound. Did you check about the toxicological profile of galactoglucomannan?
Yeah, the galactoglucoban, and it's only sugar like as such. But of course, when we work with these extracts, we have a blend of things that comes out of the wood. So we are working with this kind of tests that we need to do for cosmetics. So.
Okay, thank you so much. We have here a few more questions from Maria. Thank you very much for your presentation. Can you share which is the phenol content of the lignin?
Yeah, sure. It's around 80-85%. So.
Okay, thank you. Another question. Are there any particular challenges?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. The last one, it's the lignin content. Yeah, phenol content. I'm just the last questions. Sorry, I messed up. I can't say this by heart. We might have the figures. We are not that well characterized, or our lignin. So, but should check it out maybe. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. The next question was if there are any particular challenges on working with sawdust, such as the safety?
Well, we don't really see in that way no health or safety, because the particles are fairly big, so it's not really like dust. So, for instance, health issues, if that would be the question.
Okay, another question is, in which yields are the hemicellulose and lignin typically obtained?
From sawdust, well, this was a good question. I should calculate this quickly. If if Ante is listening, do you remember this by heart? I'm asking my colleague if he's joining, but 20% would be hemicellulose, and we get out maybe 80%. It would be a good percent. So some is left in this wood residue, some of the hemicellulose and some of the lignin.
Okay, thank you. So next question, we will answer a couple of more questions.
Yeah.
Did you check by products like hydroxymethylfurfural and furfural in your products?
No, we haven't checked like that. We have checked what kind of volatile organic compounds we have, and everything is like really low beneath detection limits, but we have not checked like that. The conditions aren't that harsh, since we only apply heat and we only have the water, but of course some kind of always some hydrolysis is going on, so maybe it would go as far as getting this furfurals, but not in a big extent, no.
Okay, and what about the treatment temperature?
Well, these are things that we do not disclose here now.
Okay. So the last question is regarding the process. It is a physical process. How the hemicellulose is separated from lignin?
Sorry, how cellulose is separated from lignin?
The hemicellulose, how it's separated from lignin, if you are following a physical process?
Yeah, it's not completely actually separated. So that's why we have these blends. We still have carbohydrates in our lignin fraction, and we still have lignin in our carbohydrate fraction. But it's, as I said, it's some hydrolysis happens during the extraction, because applying heat, the pH will drop when you have water, and this will break some of the bonds, but it's not like actively separated. But then if you mean afterwards, well, it's maybe not. I can't answer that. It's also maybe not so something we would like to disclose, or how we then afterwards separate stuff.
Okay, so thank you so much for your time. And it was very interesting to hear about Monty Nutra and your products portfolio that you are developing. So we need to run to the next speaker. Thank you so much, Sophie. So the next speaker is Aline Gordobil. He's a strategy business development expert in the cosmetic field. So hello, Aline, are you there?
Yes, good morning, everybody.
Thank
you very much, Oihana. So thank you for the invitation to participate to this very nice workshop and specifically dedicated to lignin, biotech and natural sourcing. That's a great pleasure for me to introduce you and to propose you, in fact, to take some high regarding the cosmetic market. So some words just to introduce me rapidly. I've been working 25 years in the ingredient cosmetic industry, and since 5 years now, I'm proposing my experience to companies, newcomers, and project leader that would like to enter into the cosmetic industry without knowing perhaps the code and things specific, I would say, criteria of the industry. So then we are going on our key topic, which is the cosmetic market. And I wanted first to highlight that cosmetic is a very regulated, in fact, industry, and brands cannot do and say what they want, finally. So each area and worldwide, you will find a specific regulation, and specifically in Europe, I give you the definition of a cosmetic product, that it's really a product that brings you pleasure, with application on the external part of your body, and to bring you some cleaning, perfuming, or just changing the aspect like makeup, for example, or protecting like sun care, to keep you in good good health. So from there, this is, I would say, the playground that which is put to develop cosmetic product. We here I share with you Euromonitor Megatrends identification for up to 2040, where you will identify, so here you have 10 criteria, but we could really summarize those criteria into, I would say, 6 pillars, where wellness is somehow the target of our industry, and still the criteria for our consumer. So the holistic beauty we can be designed through those 6 criteria, 6 pillars, with obviously based on the regulatory aspect, the efficacy, safety, environment, and traceability. But something very important is also that this holistic beauty really want and needs to connect the sense, the pleasure with our environment and way of life. So I think that here we have the key pillar to really understand what is the cosmetic. So if we look at the consumer side, people are trying to find their criteria and their main target into the product they are buying. And for example, here millennials trust in label, and they put at the first position recyclable, environmental, and natural either organic on the fourth place, to select and to buy their product. So we are fully understanding that the key driver of the market are really aligned with all what we have seen and say here today from this morning. And that effectively it influences, of course, the way that brands will communicate with their consumer. So we can see, I went too quickly, we can see some labels that are really part of the community membership brands try to have. Those labels, and specifically EcoCert, Cosmebio, Natru, are really the private local labels. So Natru for Germany, for example, EcoCert and Cosmebio for France, that has been used in the cosmetic. And some years ago, the Eco label from Europe has been designed also, really to target the environment and the circularity of the economy. So all those labels has pushed to organize. Oops, I'm so sorry, my dog is not happy. So has pushed also the ISO management system to design the new norm, the ISO 16128, to deliver guidance for the natural and organic cosmetic ingredients. So it's very interesting because finally from the market to the norm, we are pushing finally the legislation too. We have also certification. We can see we have effectively we can see on the different communication of brands the Cradle to Cradle, which is an American program really dedicated again to circularity and responsibility of materials and products. And based on the 5 pillars that you have here, so the social fairness, water and soil stewardship, clean air and climate protection, product circularity, and material health. So then behind that, sorry, I have some issues. You can see that there is some cosmetic products that are certified. And for example, here I show you the Lancaster Sun Care, where there is 3 references certified by the Cradle to Cradle program. Other initiative has been started, and specifically this one is the Green Impact Index that has been designed by Pierre Fabre and launched in June 2021, where they wanted in fact to ease the process of legibility of the origin and how the cosmetic products are designed. They wanted to design a scoring index in order to help the consumer to understand how the products are developed, and they took inspiration from the Nutri-Score, which has been developed for the food industry. Here they take environmental scoring and social scoring in order to make sure that what they say is what they do, in fact. Another way to push the boundary, in fact, in terms of communication to the consumer is the Eco Beauty Score initiative, This is a consortium that has been, I would say, created in 2021 at the initiative of big companies like L'Oréal, LVMH, and today they have 60 cosmetic industry stakeholders participating. But they designed two groups of members here. One is the corporate members that can really act in the design of what they want to claim, design of the scoring system, really. And the associate member can just observe and give some recommendation. So this platform is not yet alive, and normally the first round would be is planned for beginning of 2023. Another trust, I would say, another idea that has been put in place by Clarence is the trust system. Trust stands for traceability, responsibility, unicity, security, and transparency. So here you see, and I introduced the QR code that will allow you to go directly on the website. And for the moment being, they launched this initiative in order to give the opportunity to the consumer to have the real information on the product he bought and he is using. So you are going on the website, you enter the batch number of your product, your finished product, and you will see from the field to the factory how was the process of handling the finished product, and even though the date of production. So it's a private initiative, and to also, I would say, to counteract a little bit against the application like Yuka and so on, that can disturb, I would say, the real angle of view of the consumer from the reality. So in order to summarize what could be the factor of influence of the cosmetic market, obviously, I wanted to highlight some data, like effectively the aging population that obviously support the forecast of the anti-aging market. Also the fact that the population is more and more growing in the urban area. So it's an important factor of influence. The connection that makes the consumer aware, but perhaps sometimes informed, but not always handling the real, I would say, constraint of a subject. But that push the market to be more and more transparent and be more and more respectful of the environment. So it links to effectively the environmentally friendly target. The regulation, which is a very geographic area dependent, is also a factor of influence when you think of developing a finished product, because of the different registration, or, for example, the information product folder that you have to apply in France. And the natural trend that give and offer opportunity, in fact, to push a little bit the boundary of the formulation and change the habit of the formulators. So it's very interesting, and here we are completely in phase with the subject. So focusing on sun care because we see that lignin is a sun care application ingredient, very interesting application ingredient. I don't know if you have seen this picture from the media side. This was published in November, so last month, and at the initiative of an American photographer named Spencer Tunick. Here you have 2,500 people naked on an Australian beach to represent the number of deaths due to skin cancer every year in Australia. So just to say that sun exposure is really a public health issue. And we see that 80% of skin cancer are caused by excessive exposure, for sure, but most often during the childhood. So means that there is also the consumer are taking in consideration now more and more the protection against the sun. So the challenge, of course, for the brand is really to develop new products with good sensory, with non-greasy sensation, with water resistant, with long wear product, and so on. But with, first of all, a good protection against UVB and UVA to really be in accordance with the local regulation. And this is the challenge, of course, because, for example, in USA and in Europe, we don't have the same positive list of sun filter. So over this regulation first aspect, there is other factor of influence, of course, because the consumer are looking for a nanoparticle product, for example. They are looking for reef-friendly product also, but at the same time, the product need to be also in accordance or with developed without, controversial ingredients that are said for the sunscreen filter. For some of them are suspected only being endocrine disruptor. So finally, this boundary are really moving a lot because of the legislation, the local legislation also sometimes that can really push a subject and raise a subject that is not always the public security or healthy criteria first. For example, here I just show you the Florida communication, and effectively to be reef safe. Finally, if we are going deeply into the subject, we understood that, okay, sunscreen can be one of the components, but not only. And moreover, the climate change is triggering the coral. Sorry. So some brands has react also due to the change of lifestyle. Effectively, we have seen that people are more and more spending time outdoor, and since the restriction and the lockdown of COVID period, and consumers are more and more concerned by the balance they want between the protection and the care they want for their skin. So it lead to a new proposal in this hybrid cosmetic trend that has been first, I would say, addressed by the BB cream. That can be also completely a target for the product we have seen today. And some brand raised offer. So some are really going into the skincare brand for everyone who takes the sun, like Kiss Skin. And other brands, just two examples to illustrate this point of super hybrid product. This other brand is Sunburn, which has come from the sun care segment to the skincare, which is very clever because in fact we are facing the UV every day and all the time. So I wanted also to focus a little bit on some other I would say initiative from the supplier ingredient side and linked to the consumer interest. We have identified that 69% of the consumers in France are interested in upcycling product sourcing. So 80% in Brazil, 74% in China. So it shows that it's really a worldwide consumer demand or care. And some example here that I propose to illustrate this trend. So going on, what could be the right process of development for an active for any cosmetic ingredient? I just designed here some pathway, starting from the idea. So either the idea is coming from an expertise, it's coming from the literature, it's coming from the byproduct sourcing or upcycling sourcing, and also market requirements. So here we have a lot of possibility, and this is where the cosmetic market is very interesting, to be creative, to design new molecule that needs, to be really well identified and selected, characterized, then going through the classic process of in vitro to screen the efficacy, the quantification, and so on, in tubo, and also in vivo test for the tox and the security and the efficacy, and then up to the marketing tools package that need to be developed in order to ease the process of introduction of the ingredient on the market. But a lot of speakers today show all what they have done already and succeed to do already to achieve this successful marketing tool package. And for sure that today natural means less. We want to have less product but more security. We want to have so at the end more multifunctional ingredients to be more polyvalent, and which is a very good news for everybody, I think here. Depending on all the criteria that this product can achieve effectively, there is, I would say, a link to create among all those pillars. So the regulation, the transparency of the sourcing, the sustainability, good design, but also efficacy and safety. It's all a coherent, I would say, all coherent criteria that need to be organized to make a good formula for a new ingredient. And effectively also don't miss the intellectual property in order to protect yourself. So the notoriety and the sales success will pass through marketing and scientific evidence. So from the effectiveness to the marketing toolbox that has to be developed, and the notoriety of your company that has to be designed and communicate to congress, scientific and professional magazine or exhibition or webinar like today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aline, for your nice presentation. Very nice to hear about the cosmetic field from another perspective. I think it was also useful for the rest of the speakers about when you talk about the different labels, different certifications, and the new trends that, as you say, totally align with the new companies. So I would like to ask you something about this. You mentioned different certification and labels. One developer, how he can know which kind of certification or label choose for their products? There is, I guess that they have different requirements, right?
Exactly, and I would say it's mainly also zone area dependent, because as I said, for example, the EcoCert label, which is now Cosmos, under Cosmos label, and it's more European consensus on this label. This one would address really the Europe. Naturally is still very strong in Germany. So this point is also very important, but I would say that the first I would say look I would take is the ISO guidance, because the ISO 16128 for me today is really the international guidance, and which align all the cosmetic industry worldwide on one ISO management.
Okay, so we are running out of time, but we will answer this couple of questions that we have. The first one is, did you identify cosmetic companies selling lignin-containing products?
I didn't check more deeply, but I know one company, one project leader on lignin finished product, which is Belgium, and Claudia will talk about it better than me.
Okay, so now the last question. Thank you, Aline. Very nice presentation. Will you say that the consumers of natural sunscreen products are more females than men, or both of them buy natural sunscreen products?
I would say that by heart, first of all, the first buyer are still women, even if men are wearing cosmetic products. So finally, even if we address product to men, I think that we need to take into account the code of communication and appealing criteria for women. You see, so it's not a one-way answer. It's really, I think that today everyone is using, or everyone should use sunscreen, but the one who will buy the product for the family is still the women. And the new teenager, the new, I would say our kids, are starting to be more and more involved, I would say, in the purchasing act.
Okay, so thank you so much for your contribution. Very interesting to hear from you about the sunscreen market. So I think we will run for the last speaker, Claudia. She's Claudia Condulet, is the founder of Belgio in Belgium. So hello, Claudia.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you and see you as well.
Okay. For the presentation, I will close my camera because I think my internet is not very good, but if there are any questions, I will open the camera. Is that okay?
Yeah, perfect. You can
Good.
share your screen.
One moment. Well, I just want to start with a story. So imagine, for example, that you are on a beach. You're barefoot in the sand, it's hot, you're thirsty, you open a cold, fresh beer, but you also need to protect yourself against the sun. And I can give you the first ever environmentally friendly sunscreen product made from the spent grain of the beer that you just had. I was working for the biggest beer company in the world, and already having several years of experience in producing cosmetics, I realized at some point that I can use an ingredient that I need from beer waste, which is of course lignin. So my name is Claudia Condulets. I'm founder of Belgio, circular economy cosmetics company. My passion for healthcare and environmental protection really goes a very long way. When I was very young, a little girl in my hometown by the sea, I used to see and play with seahorses when swimming, but now I have to get my scuba dive gear and go very far away, swim very far away from the shore to even have the chance to see a seahorse like I was seeing in my childhood. I saw firsthand the damage that pollution has, and with my passion for healthcare and environment, I created one of the first ever environmentally friendly sunscreen with circular economy ingredients. Globally, already 6 states banned the harmful ingredients from solar products, and more than 72% of all solar products contain plastic particles so small that are literally suffocating the marine life. Globally, there are 720-ton cargo trucks full of sunscreen that are being dumped straight into the sea every year. And for our mission to keep a healthy and resilient coastline and marine life, of course, my business was selected by the European Commission to be part of the Blue Economy Accelerator. I have worked with researchers from several European countries to have lignin available for our sunscreen products, and we have incorporated it into our environmentally friendly sunscreen that already won an innovation award from the European Commission and Startup Europe Awards in support of UN Sustainable Development Goal number 14, Life Below Water. I would say that just a few facts here that for example, 6% of global greenhouse emissions are caused by food waste, and only in 2018, there were 1 billion units of risky sunscreens that were sold, and more than 2 billion are expected for 2029. So in the end, each year, tons of sunscreens end up on our skin and enter waterways, and it means that we are destroying the marine ecosystem every single holiday. What I can say, of course, I started this in, I think in 2019, and one of the first that I started to discuss with about lignin was Lignopure and Joanna, and then of course I talked to many people that are speakers today. And what I can say is that my ambition in the end is to create a new type of circular economy in the cosmetics industry. First, of course, with the first product, which is the sunscreen product, in a global market for solar products that will reach $25 billion by 2025. My project, so the Belgio project, what we want is to bring innovation and new type of jobs in the communities where we activate. We are active cheerleaders of waste reduction, of course, clean products that are good for our bodies and the natural ecosystems. And also Belgio is getting ready to anticipate the new changes in the European law that will not allow, for example, microplastics in the cosmetic formulations. Therefore, what I can say is that I can invite you to join me and my team in my mission to protect your skin and that sandy, beautiful beach where, of course, you just imagined yourself drinking a beer a few minutes ago. So that's all from my side.
Thank you so much, Claudia, for your nice presentation and showing us your business and initiative. So we have here some questions. The first one is, can you comment on the process to get market approval for the product and approximate cost of the certifications?
Yes, so of course I work with many lignin producers, so I'm sourcing lignin from many producers. So it starts with the producers in the end. When, of course, a lignin producer wants to market their product, they need to register it either as a UV filter. It's much more expensive for them. And also it's imperative to be registered in the INCI list, which is the International Nomenclature of Cosmetic Ingredients. And then for us, if that's done from their side, from our supplier side, then for us it's very easy. We do, of course, all the patch tests, toxicity, solubility. We need to notify the European Commission that we've put the product on the market. Sunscreen products, indeed, they are more sensitive when you place them on the market, but it's not impossible. The only aspect, if you use nanoparticles, that's more difficult, but we don't use. So I would say that for B2C business like we are, it's not that difficult, but it starts really with the supplier.
Okay, thank you so much. We have another question from Monique. Thank you for the presentation, Claudia, she said. Her question is, only lignin is used as UV filter at BIO products, or it is used as a sun protection factor booster?
It is used for the moment as a sun protection factor booster, because in general, the companies that we are sourcing, they did not register yet the lignin as a only UV filter. Is much more difficult. I know that there are some companies on the way, yes, so for the moment, sun protection factor booster, in addition with other ingredients as well.
Okay, thank you so much. So David says some info on the lignin you are using and main gaps today for the lignin utilization.
I think it comes that we are the first in the area, and we started in 2019. We were really very early with everything, and it was very difficult to gain traction, to make people understand what lignin is. I didn't even know in 2019 what lignin was, and I do have a degree in ecology, what it was called before, and also food chemistry, but it was very difficult for me. But I've seen the potential. I had a company, a cosmetics company many years ago with ingredients that you can also eat. And I tried for many years to produce a sunscreen, and it was the only product that I did not manage to produce, like environmentally friendly, because the technology was not there. So the technology is now here, and I think we can all collaborate to bring to our consumers some great products.
Sure. So next question is from Aina. She's asking about the range of concentration that you use in your formulations, concentration of lignin. Mm-hmm. And she's asking also about the challenge of odor and color, and with which commercial filters you are combining lignin in your formulation.
Yes, so for the odor, we are sourcing lignin. One of the lignin that we are sourcing actually is from one of the speakers from Lignopure, and they are removing the odor from it, so that's fine. For the color, actually, I know that some of the speakers said that the color is very strange, maybe for the customers, but that's because we are used to seeing a sunscreen that is very white. And if you think about the sunscreen that are, let's say, the closest to natural, which is the ones with mineral filters, they are very white, and the consumers, they don't like them. So if we do something that is much closer to our natural skin, we all have different skin types, skin colors. We are not all, nobody is that white anyway. So we need to change to bring to the consumer something that they would actually like, and if it's natural, then it's perfect. And I think there was something else that was asked, but I don't remember.
here Aline said that thank you, Claudia, for inspiring the introduction of BIO. You are on the way to proposing inclusive sun care.
Thank you very much, Aline. Appreciate it.
Okay. So thank you so much. For the moment, we have no more questions. So I think we reached the end of the industrial and market-oriented session. And I would like now, if you are still, all the speakers are still here, I would like to ask you if you can share with us your experience regarding the challenge that you are facing in terms of creating a new company. So the question that I would like to ask all of you to share also with the audience is, what are the most relevant challenges of creating a company which is dedicated to market new bio-based ingredients and products that at the end involve many activities like regulation, certification, development, and so in your experience, what is the most relevant challenge of having this kind of new business model?
I can start.
Sure, you can start, Claudia.
Yes, I think we are young companies. We are facing strong competitions with from the other speaker side, from competition from huge ingredient producers that are known on the market, so everybody knows them. And on my side, of course, big cosmetic companies. And I think we have a very, very good chance to propose great products to the customers. It takes a long time. And I think we need maybe a stronger collaboration between ourselves, because in the end, we can all benefit from proposing this new type of solutions, bio-based solutions, to the market.
Someone else can share?
Well, I could say a few words about the challenges, as I was working kind of on the other side of the table also with the product development, where we were offered this kind of new bio-based materials, and we really wanted to be able to use them. But the challenge often is that we need to replace like a very well functioning component, and it's often it's quite cheap, or at least the economy is there and it's effective. And then when we come with the biomass, and especially when starting to develop, we can't really compete price wise, and it's not always that we have this drop-in solution. So really to be able to convince that yes, we can really maybe or we can get a good economy in a few years, but you need to do like a little bit of product development also on like the customer side. And this I say now as we are like in the beginning of the chain, providing the raw material to somebody who is then modifying it to the consumers. So yeah, it's a price and a functionality issue. I see that are some of the challenges.
Thank you so much for your answer. Someone else would like to share something?
If I can go on, I think that from my point of view, what is the more challenging with new ingredients on the market is really to have the opportunity to meet the good functionality, efficacy, safety, and be able to educate the customer. So when I say customer, I'm in B2B, so it's the Finnish, the brand like Belgio that are using these new ingredients, and be able to show them what is the added value of being on this new side of the raw material. This is my the challenge I can face on a regular basis with my customer.
Thank you so much. your answer. Someone else would like to share something? Maybe not. Okay. So I think with that question, we reached the end of the event. I would like to thank you so much for the participation and your great contribution to the BIO4CARE workshop. It was very interesting to hear from all of you and about your companies, and also you, Aline, about your expertise in the cosmetic field. It is really nice the work that you are doing to create a more sustainable world in the future. So thank you so much. And I would like also to thank all attendees. I hope you really like the event. You learn about these new companies. And I'm very happy because we have a very good reception of the event. So thank you so much for your attention to everyone, and I hope to see you soon. I hope we can do something together in the future. We can cooperate and continue working on the development of bio-based ingredients. So this is all for today, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for everything, and thank you, Oihana, for organizing this.
Thank you very much, yes, for the organization and the well done program.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Oihana.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.